Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Better Way of Life. I don't know why I always adjust my glasses.
I should do it.
Just when I'm starting. It's just something to fiddle with, I'm sure. Do you fiddle with your glasses?
No, no. No.
Hair? Glasses?
Maybe hair. I know I do this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who else does that?
I know why I do it. It's the stim. Yeah. I know why I do it. It's a bit of a stim. It's a bit of a stim.
Yeah. Yeah. Our youngest, when he was younger, he would like always grab your hand and pinch you and like rub and pinch you like this.
It's the same.
Or pinch this bit here.
Yeah.
It's like a comfort blanket thing.
Mine, when I'm concentrating, it's worse. When I drive, I'm literally red raw, but I need my nails done again because it stops me doing it.
Oh, there you go. Apologies, folks. I didn't introduce us. We're Graham and Marianne Mills, and this is a Better Way of Life. There you go. What can I say? But it's been a great week so far, and you might be watching this on a Friday. Actually, this is Tuesday that we're recording this. So even though we've only had Monday, what a productive Monday it was. Was it productive for you?
It was very. You taught me some things. You went through some things for me. That was really good. I learnt lots about storage. And we're not talking sort of like storage boxes or piling things on top of it. I love all of that. Making things love a bit of
making things neat and tidy. But actually, we're talking about online digital storage, but it's the same principle really, which is that actually if you pack it in and push it everywhere, and it's a mess, and then actually getting the stuff out is difficult. But actually, if you put things in the right places and you do it all neatly, you get stuff out much easier. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that with our guest today, but we are going to talk about bees. Going to welcome Matt O'Donnell. Matt.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt. Now, the sign behind you may be a clue. Maybe a clue, but do tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. So what it is we do, my background, I'm a chartered environmental health practitioner. I spent many years working in local government, dealing with food hygiene, health and safety, licensing, all that sort of stuff, regulatory stuff. A few years ago, I set up a little business alongside that, just as a part-time business first, primarily in pest control. I really wanted an additional interest in my life, and set it up as a part-time business, and gradually grown the business organically from there. So as you can see on the sign behind me, primarily in pest control, although we have diversified out. It is a growing business. Been operating for 5 or 6 years now. In the last couple of years, seen some significant growth, particularly, and a great growth phase now, right in the middle of a great growth phase, primarily dealing with pest control. So a real glamorous sort of world we live in. So rats, mice, cockroaches, bedbugs, all that sort of stuff. And then amongst other things, we've specialised in undertaking live honeybee removals. So
we'll talk a bit more about that. Yeah, you've got bees on today, haven't you?
Got changed.
Well done.
Matt's particularly fond of his bees. We'll ask him a bit more about that in a minute. But and so Marianne's decided to wear some bees today. If I had bee things to wear, I probably got some socks with bees on. But if I had bee things to wear, I would have worn you a bee top. Had I known. Let's talk about pests to begin with, and we're not talking about people that annoy me on LinkedIn. Although that if you could pest control those, that would be fantastic. Do you ever get calls to remove pests and they're not actually pests?
Yeah, I mean, we get all sorts of inquiries. We do get called out to all sorts of people hearing noises in properties and things like that. And yeah, we go along, carry out a survey, find no evidence of pests. So yeah, we do get called out to situations where sometimes there are no pests.
Yeah, I didn't know whether like people assume that any animal that they don't want there is a pest, and actually some of them are actually protected or aren't pests as such.
Absolutely, you're absolutely spot on. I mean, primarily we focus on from our business side of things, we focus on what are known as sort of public health pests. So pests that cause damage to property, spread disease, all that sort of stuff. So that's primary, or health effects, whatever else. But that's primarily what we focus on. But yes, there are animals that we don't and won't get involved in for various reasons. Bats being a prime example of that. And obviously, bats are protected species. So if we're called out to a property for pest survey or whatever it might be, and we identify bats, we simply withdraw, give the homeowner or the building owner advice to get a bat consultant out, a bat ecologist.
I love that, a bat consultant, that exists.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. I'm not sure that's their official job title, but yeah. But yeah, anybody with bats in their buildings should be getting a survey completed, and technically it's an offence to interfere with a bat roost. So, which is why we withdraw from the situation.
My neighbour, actually, he was involved in, he still does, he gets involved in loads of stuff, all environmental stuff. And when they had I think they had some houses built, and there's an area he goes over to, and that's a protected area because of bats, just locally.
Yes. Yeah.
Quite interesting.
I would have to, if I did that job, I'd have to dress as Batman. It would just have to be done, wouldn't it? Turning up, right, I've come to get the bats.
Totally. Nice big black car outside as well with the bat wings on.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Imagine that. That would be. I'd have to get an accountant on talking about this, but that must be the only time you could actually put a Batmobile through HMRC.
Well, that car looks a bit like a Batmobile.
Wow.
It does.
It's fantastic. So bats. Am I right in thinking that even well, I know seagulls are protected, aren't they? But what about pigeons?
Well, bird work is a particularly specialist area. So the starting point is any bird work. The starting point is it's licensed work. There are a number of licenses. So there are general licenses which you don't actually apply for certain bird work, but you have to operate under the terms of that license. So there are only certain things you can do with certain birds in certain situations. But yes, generally speaking, there are a lot of birds out there are protected. Everything is controlled by licensing for birds, though. So it's an area we've sort of avoided up to date to getting involved in. But it is an area we're gradually starting to get involved in now as the business grows.
Well, I remember, it was fond memory. I don't know why this one stuck with me, but as a student, I was in a particular house with a group of other students, and we had problems with pigeons. And it was kind of out the back of the house. There was like a little gated area with a wall, etc., and these pigeons were landing on it all the time, and obviously, making a mess, etc. And we did get somebody in, and I remember thinking, this is incredible equipment that they brought with them. They brought 2 nails and a piece of fishing wire, and they literally nailed in at either end and then laid out the fishing wire taut and said that will do it. And actually it did do it, because the birds kept landing on it. It scared them because it wasn't a solid surface and just flew away. Yeah, well, setting up wire along ledges and things like that is an acknowledged way of sort of preventing birds roosting on there. Wire or spikes are various techniques that can be used.
I know my cousin's got a falconry business, and he does pest control with his birds. That's quite a big business. I know the local authority does a lot. I don't know what he does. Yeah, very specialist area again. But flying falcons over sports stadia and all sorts of different arenas, aerodromes, or something. Maybe I think he said about buildings. What would they be getting? Yeah, well, flying birds of prey over certain sites will chase other birds off because other birds feel threatened. But presumably you've got the same kind of issues there that you've got with like flying drones. You mustn't fly it into the flight path of anything else. Absolutely. And drones is something we do use on when we're carrying out bee surveys on buildings. Really? Oh, yeah. You get to use drones. Fantastic. Easy, now, aren't they? Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, where does the love of bees come from?
Well, I've been a beekeeper now for a number of years. So I keep a number of colonies on a local farm. And a few years ago, I saw a gap in the market locally for removing bees from buildings. So it's originally from beekeeping, but as part of the pest control business, we do live removals of honeybee colonies.
Okay, so this is very similar, is it not, to house clearance removals, in that you get free stock. Is that not right? So if you go and take the bees, you then have the bees, and then do you then pass those bees on to people that you foster them and then pass them on to people that need a colony of bees?
In theory, yes. What we do once we've got bees out of the building, obviously it can be very, very significant work getting bees out of a building. If you've got them in chimney or roof cavity or wall void or whatever, it usually involves an element of structural work, building work. So opening up the wall cavity, reducing the height of the chimney or whatever's needed to expose all the bees and all the comb. And if you imagine in an average domestic chimney flue of probably 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters or 1 foot by 1 foot diameter, an average established colony of honeybees will draw out around about a foot in depth of comb across the diameter of that chimney flue for each year they're there. So if you've got a colony that's been in a chimney for, say, 5 years, potentially looking at up to around about 5 feet or so of comb down the depth of the chimney.
So would that be
comb?
Obviously it wouldn't have been used then, so it would be that they don't use that, or a building that's not used?
Yes, usually redundant chimney flues, but bees, obviously when bees swarm, their natural swarming season is between very roughly sort of April and July each year. Every colony of, well, I say every colony, with nature there's always exceptions, but pretty much every colony of honeybees splits in half at least once each year. Generally speaking, the old queen initially for the first swarm takes off half the colony with her. They settle somewhere and you may have seen pictures of it, and have a look on my social media. You'll see pictures of bee clusters. So swarms, they settle. From there, they send out scout bees looking for somewhere to move into. If you bear in mind that time of year, April onwards, people aren't using chimneys for open fires very often. So bees don't know whether it's a live chimney flue or a redundant one. So they move into chimneys, wall cavities, whatever else, and obviously assume it is their home, because bees' natural home used to be, years ago, before buildings, they used to live in cavities in trees. So chimneys now provide the equivalent.
So chimney sweeps often discover them?
We don't get any or many referrals from chimney sweeps. Usually our referrals are from homeowners, but I do believe chimney sweeps do find them sometimes.
I'm just wondering how we would, because we've got a what's it called? We used to have an open fire, but we've got a log burner now.
Yeah.
How would we know?
Well, what usually happens, people either see the bees arrive in a big black cloud big humming black cloud. So if you think you've probably got somewhere between
in the house or at the top of the chimney?
No, just arriving outside. So they descend.
Just arriving, yeah,
just a big black cloud of bees. So you can hear them buzzing as they arrive, and literally you've probably got an average swarm is probably between about 15 and 25,000 bees. So they all descend in a big cloud, settle on the outside of the wall or on the top of the chimney or whatever, and from there very quickly work their way into where they've decided is going to be their new home. So you may see the swarm arrive. Alternatively, you may just notice a lot of bee activity around the top of your chimney or on the access point in your wall or whatever else. So yeah.
Well, you're checking outside and see if you've got a black swarm appearing.
I'm in the garden in the office, so I'm just looking up.
Bees generally don't fly through the winter. They will come out for cleansing flights during the winter, but generally you won't see much activity.
Cleansing flights, what's that? So I'm getting you to teach us now, aren't I, Matt? Which I know you're a really good teacher. But I'm getting you to teach us. What's a
cleansing flights? Bees don't go to the toilet in their hive. So what they do, they go out for cleansing flights. So basically a flight where they can go to the toilet. So over the winter, when bees are clustering, because bees don't fly during the winter, they generally only fly when the weather is probably about 10 degrees or above, although they do come out for cleansing flights. Yeah, they go out, go to the toilet, go back in. And that's pretty
Do you
much
know
all
what? I
you're doing.
love that term. I think we should adopt that term in offices. I'm just going for a cleansing.
A cleansing walk. I'm just going for a cleansing walk.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. But no,
popping down the corridor for a cleansing, and I'll be back soon. Is that all right? I'll be back in about 10 minutes. Oh, what a great term. You've obviously been asked this loads of times, but do you get stung much?
I try not to. The aim is not to get stung, but yes, we do get stung. The nature of what we're doing, obviously up on scaffolding or wherever else it might be. First of all, we're opening up the wall or chimney to expose all the bees and all the comb. Potentially, we're dealing with up to 50, 60 or 1,000 bees in an average colony peak season. So you imagine you've got that sort of number of bees. Yeah, there is a very good chance we will get stung. And yes, we do get stung. Usually it's when we take a break, we go down, sit by the van or whatever else. You're sitting trying to have a coffee or whatever in peace and quiet while the bees are settling. Usually that's when they come and find you, rather than
when you've got food in your hand.
Well, really? Yeah. And once you've taken your veil off as well, usually that's when they'll come and buzz around you. And yeah, you can almost guarantee that's when you'll get stung.
What will they be wanting?
Sorry?
What will they be wanting? Do they go over? I mean, there's loads of myths about this kind of thing, aren't there? But sweet things or?
Well, no, I mean, it could be all sorts of reasons. Once you open up a colony, it's a bit like somebody coming along and taking the side wall off your house, which is
pretty much.
Yeah,
yeah. You might get a bit feisty. You might get a bit irate. Equally, you might not.
I love the way that Matt explains things. It's so good.
Yeah.
Please, you really make it.
So they're just acting a bit like us, really, which is the first reaction. If you came along now and you took the side wall off the house and I was sat there watching telly, etc., I'd just be nonplussed. I'd just be like,
"What are you doing?
What is it you're doing?" You probably wouldn't react angrily at first. You'd probably just be like, what just happened? And they probably a bit like that at first, but then after a while some of them go, hang on a minute, he's taking the side of me house, I'm going to go and have a word with him.
Absolutely. And this is one of the key things, because what we do before we start any of this work, obviously it's major works. We have to go and carry out a survey first. We have to work out a safe strategy for getting the bees out of the building, whether we need any access equipment, specialist equipment or anything like that. But also every colony of bees has a different temperament. Some are really placid, some are really active, so really, really productive, and some colonies are really, really feisty.
So you send in a tester. You've got a volunteer, have you?
Usually me. Survey, yeah. But it's one of the key things we take note of when we're doing a survey, because obviously we have to undertake risk assessments, things like that. Yeah. So we actually note the temperament of the colony when we carry out the survey. Now, some colonies you can, as I say, they're totally placid, but then you get the other extreme as well and are really, really feisty. So what we have to look at is all the risk factors involved in that. Are there near neighbours or anything else? Because obviously bee stings can be fatal for some people with anaphylaxis or whatever else. So we really do have to undertake a robust risk assessment before we even start the work, just from that perspective. But colony temperament can change for all sorts of reasons. It can change because bees are running out of food. So periods in the year where they've got limited food. It can change on based on weather conditions. So when we're high pressure, low pressure, or rain, inclement weather, bee colony temperament changes then. So colony temperament is a key thing we have to bear in mind. And obviously, if we're dealing with a feisty colony, we need to be pretty confident we can deal with it safely and get it out the building safely.
Where did you learn all about this? Where did you do your learning? Because obviously you studied to do. What was it? Chartered environmental? Yeah,
my background is environmental health. So as I say, dealing with regulatory stuff. So food hygiene, health and safety, licensing, all the sort of local government enforcement stuff. But yeah, I mean, some of it's an accumulation of knowledge from various areas, really. There are a number of, a couple of training courses you can go on, very specialist training courses in relation to bee removal specifically. But primarily, you need to have a much wider knowledge of all sorts of different factors. So my beekeeping knowledge, I did some basic beekeeping training when I first started beekeeping, working with my own bee colonies. You get familiar of signs to look out for, things like that. Obviously, we need a good understanding of building structures and building safe construction, things like that. Health and safety is absolutely fundamental for all sorts of reasons, whether we're working at height, as I say, dealing with feisty bee colonies, dismantling buildings, a huge influence from health and safety. So knowledge and training comes in from all sorts of different areas, really.
Yeah, I was going to say, Marianne, in terms of before you train a group of people, do you look and see how feisty they are?
Well, it depends if I have well, sometimes I have a chance to do a bit of initial assessment, and other times, like when I have Matt, well, I'm quite a varied group actually.
Absolutely.
Group. They're all very well behaved. Matt was very well behaved. So,
but understanding your group must be important.
Totally. Yeah. And actually, it's a bit like you said, Matt. Sometimes it's a bit the same. What you've been told, maybe what people have told you before you've gone out is very different than what you're presented with, and then what happens afterwards, because you might do something, and like you said, they're all right for a bit, and then they want to go for you. And
that's where your dynamic risk assessment comes in, isn't it?
I love a good dynamic risk assessment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I too come from a background of risk assessments and sort of health and safety areas as well. It's a fascinating area, isn't it? Do you find it sort of, once you've been trained in that way, that then spills into other areas of your life? Do you find you, like when you start, I don't know, booking a holiday or doing
children
or anything? Yeah, you start like kind of assessing it first before you actually do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And risk is an interesting area. Sort of risk thresholds, things like that. Some people are more risk tolerant, some people are more risk averse, aren't they?
Yeah, no, very much so.
Do you find when you're out, because I know I've got friends that do, I do fire training, but I've got friends that specialist in that kind of thing, and they say when they go out, when they go to a hotel or anything like that, they're always sort of on the lookout, and sort of do you tend to find you're looking out for things?
Two key things I always do when I go and stay in a hotel or anywhere overnight. First of all, check the fire exit out. So if you're up on the 3rd, 4th, 5th floor, before you do anything, check whether
how you're going to get out.
Absolutely, because you can guarantee if a fire alarm's going to go off in a hotel, usually it's at 3 o'clock in the morning or ridiculous time when you're not with it. So always, before you go to bed, check that out. Yeah. Second one, absolutely fundamental. Lift the sheets on the bed, look around the headboard, look for bed bugs.
I just saw your post. I saw your post this morning about the ones in care homes, which obviously for me, because that's, I train in care homes, which is where I've spoken to you about sort of getting into that sector. But it's quite a big thing at the moment, isn't it, with bed bugs?
Yeah, I mean, people associate, well, some people appear to think bed bugs are a historic thing or just associated with nursery rhymes, but don't really exist. Other people think they're associated with filth and dirt or dirty properties, unhygienic properties. It's absolutely not the case. Two key areas you pick up bed bugs: travel and staying in hotels and overnight accommodation where you get lots of transient populations moving through.
You get them on you and then you transfer them, is that right?
Yeah, they get into your bags or on your clothes or whatever, but also on public transport. And the other way you can bring them into your home very often is through second-hand furniture, second-hand clothes, second-hand furniture.
Yeah.
How would one know that they had them?
Well, usually the first
chimney now on my bed.
You start scratching.
I'm giving you lots of things here to check, aren't I? Yeah, the first thing people often know is they start getting bitten.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you stay in a hotel or anywhere overnight,
as soon as you mention scratching, itching, it just makes you do it, doesn't it? I've always noticed that. Stop it.
Yeah.
I'll be checking out for that. But is it quite a big thing in care homes at the moment?
Bed bugs, not specifically care homes. I mean, bed bugs do transfer around, and they're always there. They always have been, and I'm sure they always will be. But like all pests, we get sort of peaks and troughs in activity. So one year might be a particularly, when I say good, I mean good for me from the business perspective. One year might be good for wasps. So you get an increase in wasp populations. Another year it might be good for, I don't know, rats or different pests. So you always get peaks and troughs in pest activity, but they're always there. And the same with bed bugs. At the moment, we seem to be seeing a bit of an increase in bed bugs. And I certainly know colleagues down in London seem to be reporting significant increase in numbers of bed bugs around.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I wonder, let's do a little survey of people out there that are listening to this. I wonder how many of you may change your sheets on your bed on a fairly regular basis. All right. Actually, if there are people listening and you never change your sheets on your bed, shame on you. But if you change the sheets, I wonder how many of you in recent times have actually hoovered the mattress or done anything with the mattress. Because if you don't have to leave it that long, you will fill up a hoover with dust.
Matt knows this.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it, Matt? How much dust and other material sort of accumulates in a mattress? I mean, look, all of the surfaces that are there are designed to take air in and out, and therefore they're designed to create dust.
Totally. I mean, mattresses are a pretty grim article, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
When you stay in hotels, it gets you worrying about it. So you have to not really think about it.
Yeah, try not to think about it. Do your checks for bed bugs and leave it at that.
Do your checks for bed bugs. Just hoover your mattress every now and again. It's really great idea. I mean, and especially if you're asthmatic, etc. You don't want to be living with that dust coming in and out all of the time. I used to when I went round offices, I'd see that with chairs as well, and quite often there would be someone that's asthmatic and they'd be sitting on an office chair, and it was like a cheaper cut foam in the chair. Yeah. If you use a cold cure foam, or a more solid foam, you won't get dust mite in it because dust mite can't eat that kind of foam. But dust mite can eat cheaper types of foam. Foam, yeah, they actually eat it. It's a material that they can eat, so you end up with them in there. And
phones are a whole nother thing there, Marianne.
Yeah, that's
phone hygiene, keyboard hygiene,
phone pests. Let's avoid that. We'll talk about that on a completely different episode.
It literally gets eaten. I've seen carpets eaten by.
Yeah, it gets eaten. But I used to take the chair away from the area, and I just used to slam my hand down on it, and you could quite often see like a whole dust cloud appear out of it, and you go, right, well, the first thing that's happening is this is getting a deep clean, and you're going to have to clean this on a fairly regular basis if you want to if you want to avoid this. Because
is this where we put Marianne on the spot and ask her to stand up and check her chair now?
No,
maybe not.
Probably no, because she's only just painted the walls white.
I do clean it regularly because the dog sits with me, so I do clean it down regularly.
I imagine she does.
I do. Well, my keyboard is actually too bad. Oh my gosh, I'm getting like, I don't want you to. Well, I was going to get you to come out to my house, wasn't I? Because of rats, which we've had no noise. We've had. It all seems to be all quiet on the rat front.
Yeah. Excellent. So Matt, you had training with Marianne. What was the training experience like?
Yeah, it was very good, very good. And in fact, I've recently started delivering out courses. So getting some very good feedback. So
cool.
Yeah, delivered for one of the London boroughs recently, and another local authority up near me, and quite a number of inquiries at the moment.
So what was the training you did with Marianne? Just explain to people what that was.
I've forgotten the technical name for it.
Award in Education and Training.
That's the one.
AET.
I knew it was AET, but So it was basically training in how to deliver training courses. How to build and deliver training courses. Very, very useful training. Gives you
what I love though about Matt? He came with pretty much zero experience. Am I right? Would I be right in saying?
Yeah. I'd always avoided training, public speaking, everything like that.
I loved it. I mean, there were some people in the group who'd had sort of some experience, lots of experience. And I loved about Matt because he just, particularly when people think quite often, oh, anybody can get up there and talk about stuff. But I absolutely loved it, Matt. And Matt, you actually, I do remember, I never forget standing there and just knowing that you appreciated my love of aims and objectives, and you totally took it on board. But I loved the fact that you were just totally open to learning about, that, and appreciating that whilst, you do what you do. And wow, I learned a lot of what you don't know about bees, and your passion for it was like, wow, that you wanted to be able to learn how to be able to educate people best you can, and to be able to build the courses and that kind of thing. So it was a real pleasure.
That it was a pleasure for me as well. That was the whole reason I was on the course, really, to obviously get the qualification, but also to get the nuts and bolts knowledge that I can apply practically. And I'm a big believer in self-development, self-improvement, continually.
What do you see as the kind of fundamental areas that you can use that in? Because I mean, we've been talking about it recently, and I believe that actually more salespeople out there need to do that as a qualification as well, because I think in this world that we live in now, it's less about, back in the old day, it was about, I'll sell you this, do you know what I mean? And it was about people were salespeople. They didn't really actually understand anything about what it was they were selling. They were just good at selling. But actually, I think we've moved beyond that now. And I think these days, the majority of the time, it's about walking with stakeholders, clients, customers, other stakeholders, and actually educating as you go along. Is that where you saw it?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the fundamental things we try and deliver when we're delivering any intervention, even dealing with a wasp nest, rats in somebody's property, whatever. One of the key things I always try and do is add value to it. So I don't just deal with a problem and carry out proofing or whatever else. I always try and add some value to what we do. So I always try and, in a nice way, people seems always very, very keen to learn. So I always try and give them one or two little snippets of information about, say, the particular pest we're dealing with or whatever else. Just one or two key little facts, and people love it.
You did, though, when because I bless Matt, I contacted him because we'd had somebody out. We just did our glasses at the same time then. We had somebody out because we'd had a rat problem. I say I'm ashamed to admit, but I'm sure that it happens like a lot.
And it's very, very common, especially if you live near a supermarket or something like that.
But one
of the reasons I'm here.
What I thought was really interesting was that we'd had somebody out and we still had these problems, and I was like, oh gosh. So I thought, right, I'll ask Matt, because I thought I can trust him. I can, it was too far for him to come, but bless him, he spent a good hour and a half on the phone, and it was a lot of that was about the educating bit, because if people can understand, I mean, you could keep thinking, oh, you can keep making money out of people, of which is what happened when you told me about the guy that had come that we paid. Didn't really do what he should have done properly, and that's that whole sales thing, though, isn't it? That in a sense you can make a sale, and you can think, oh, that wasn't very good service, but actually, if you came out, let's just say, you get rid of the problem, and if it came back again, I'm going to think, oh, Matt did a really good job, but actually he helped me understand, which you did. You were telling me about, I know that you said about the CCTV. You said that because of potentially what the problem was that about having the CCTV down so that they could see where it'd gone. And it was really fascinating, because then also you kind of know what you're buying and why.
Absolutely. And if you inform customers and you work with them and you get good results, at the end of the day, you've got a happy customer that will be an ongoing advocate for your business as well.
And they'll trust you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And this is another reason we publish a lot of information. So we're regularly doing blogs and informative articles and things like that on.
Brilliant. Your LinkedIn things are really, really good. If you want a good interesting read, or about things that might be quite gross. Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
You hate getting this, don't you? But I'm going to ask you anyway. What's the I'm going to ask two things. What's the worst thing you've ever seen in terms of animals? And then
no,
like rats the size of like cats or whatever. Because
can I just butt in for a second? I literally stayed at a service station. I won't name it because name and shame, I get legal ramifications for this, but I stayed in a service station on the M3 one time, and I was in the reception. I was talking to the receptionist, and I looked out the window and I said, "Is that a bunny rabbit over there?" And they went, "No, that's a rat." And no word of a lie. Then this animal, a little bit later, well, there were a herd of them. I don't know whether you call it that. what you call a pack of rats. Anyway, this animal bounded up to the window and hit it, and it was mass. It was literally this big, and it was a rat. Yeah. Absolutely disgusting.
What's the worst thing you've ever seen then, animal-wise, like pest-wise? And then we'll talk about kitchens and stuff.
I suppose both in my current role, so dealing with pests primarily, but also when I was a regulator going into food businesses, we used to see all sorts of situations there with regard to, well, food hygiene, but primarily sort of pests as well in food businesses. And it's amazing what conditions some poor performing businesses will operate in. You've got rat infestations, they know about it, or cockroach infestations. What's the biggest
one you've seen?
Well, many years ago, we closed down we had a situation where we got called out by a temporary member of staff who had been asked by a food business operator to start cleaning up this. There were 5 separate warehouses contaminated. There were rat and mouse infestation across all 5. And we ended up, we went out and rats and mice were just throughout the whole place.
Oh, what's my idea of hell? What do you do? Do they scare you?
Well, you just have to deal. I suppose you just deal with it logically, and in the way that.
Yeah. I mean, first thing, you stop what's going on. So we stopped the activity that was going on just so we could get a feel for the extent of the activity, how widespread it was. But there was 5 warehouses absolutely rammed with herbs, spices, wheat grain, all sorts of different things. Significant amount of money sat there, and it's all contaminated with rats and mice.
You just have to clean the area first, basically, and.
Well, I mean, first of all, we wanted the activity stopped. We obviously closed the business down temporarily, hygiene emergency prohibition notice, which we took to the magistrates court, got converted into a court order. And then we worked very closely with the business after that to eradicate the pest activity, and then to see what might be salvageable, what could be repurposed into other areas, so cattle feed or whatever else. And interestingly, there were a lot of expensive spices sat there, and star anise was one particular, a few pallets of star anise that actually got repurposed into the perfume trade.
Oh, so, that makes sense. That makes sense.
It's not going into the human food chain.
Then you dispose of it all, the rats.
Well, yeah, I mean, anything that wasn't salvageable or repurposable, some went into cattle feed, but none of it could go into the human food chain. But it's working with the business, find out. So you think you spend a lot of money on your very nice perfumes that probably got.
I thought my job was interesting. But
folks, if you've got a story that you can share of anything disgusting like that, please do share it, because we'd love to hear it. I have got another one as well. When I was a teenager, I worked on a building site all summer holiday, and we worked on an extension of a restaurant place, and I went into the back and I saw someone doing this, and it was, again, this is just stuck with me. They filled up this jug full of orange juice, and it had mold on it, and they literally scraped the mold off and threw it away so that they could then go, and they watered it down a bit so they could then go and serve it. There you go.
Amazing what happens. Do you know, one of the things I used to do during food inspections, the first thing you do, you walk into the kitchen, obviously once you're in there, I used to just like to stand and sort of, as though I'm making notes, but actually monitoring what's going on. You can learn a hell of a lot from people's behaviour.
You don't like eating out now, do you? Staying in a hotel, eating out, doing anything.
I try and take a proportionate, realistic approach. But food hygiene rating is another thing to check when you do go out.
Yeah. I bet one of the most common ones in a kitchen, and I have worked in the kitchen for a while. I bet one of the most common ones is the misuse of different chopping boards. Yeah, because you've got color coded boards, so you're only meant to chop certain things on certain boards. And the amount of times I've seen people just grab the nearest board to chop on it, and of course, you've got lettuce on it one minute and then, steak on it the next.
Yeah.
Can't have it. Can't have
Hand
it.
washing as well. Hand washing.
Oh,
Most basic public health measure ever.
yeah. But it's the little things a lot of the time that just get missed because it's due with speed.
Yeah.
It's been fascinating today. Absolutely
I'm
fascinating.
going to come out and see you soon, Matt. I'm going to see him delivering. No, I'm not assessing you. I'm just watching. And I need to do bees.
Yeah, you have to do that. Yeah.
Matt, thanks so much for coming and talking a little bit about health and safety, about bees, about pest control, about training and why it's important as well. Look at all of that. We've crammed all of that together in about 45 minutes of wonderful conversation. I hope you've enjoyed it as well, if you've been listening. If you've enjoyed listening to us talking and you think, oh, I've got a story, I want to come on, do get in touch because we'd love to hear your story as well.
If you need to ask Matt anything, you're Northampton area, but as I said, I'm not, but he knows people that do.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we always try and help people. It's what we're about. Absolutely.
And I can confirm that the plant next to Matt is nice and healthy and, nothing got harmed in the making of this episode as well. Okay, we leave that for the outside world. We even learned about bats. Fantastic.
I've covered some ground.
I do want to know. I want to hear from anybody who is a bat specialist out there who does go to gigs dressed as Batman or Batwoman. That would be fantastic. If you'd like to let us know, we'd love to get you.
And what a herd of rats is called.
Yeah, what is? Do we know what a colony, herd, group, whatever of rats is? I'm going to go and look it up afterwards. Infestation. Yeah, just a sort of a mess of rats. There's a good word.
Rat brigade. I think rat brigade sounds good.
Yeah, we will be back same time, same place next week with another guest. Thank you very much to our guest today, Matt O'Donnell, for coming in and talking to us. Thanks, Marianne. If you've enjoyed this, please do share with all of your lovely friends and family and let us know what you think. We do this for you as much as we do it for ourselves. And we would like to hear some feedback. So if you've got any feedback, please do. You can listen to this on the old Spotify as well. So, if you don't want to watch us and you're stuck out in the car or on the train, mind you, you can't get a train for love nor money these days. But if you're out and about somewhere and you're listening to us, let us know that as well. Do give us a follow on the Spotify. Same time, same place next week. Bye for now.